Ooh, it's cold. Up and at it early this morning. Back into work early for another World Cup shoot this morning. And today I am going to talk about investments and opportunity. So I've been trying to save lately enough money to get together a deposit amount for a home, which would be my first home purchase. I want to buy a house. Part of the journey towards saving the amount of money I need often involves me thinking about ways I can invest the current sum of money I have to make it grow faster for me to be able to get a higher deposit amount for my new house quicker. Now, it's not easy making money, it's hard. But a book I read recently called The Richest Man in Babylon basically aims to decipher the mystery of how people acquire wealth. So it's a book that explains to you how to acquire wealth through a series of parables set in Babylon many hundreds of years ago. What the book tells you through a series of short stories is basically that there are rules to making wealth which haven't changed and are most probably unlikely to change. Therefore, it shouldn't be a mystery to anyone how to acquire wealth. But for some reason, I don't think we're really taught this in our schools. Many of us will constantly think of a way in which we can make a large sum of money in a relatively short space of time, which often appeals to our desires to want more quicker. Through a series of rules, the acquisition of wealth is explained to you in no uncertain terms that it will not be quick. It will not be fast. Acquiring wealth happens over a lifetime and usually is something that through a lifetime's experience you can amass a fortune that will take care of you and your family for generations to come. And this is one of the things which is difficult for people to understand. Now, obviously, there are people lucky in life to be so good at acquiring wealth that they get to do it whilst they're young. They get to experience extreme wealth while they're young and do lots of things with it. It's explained to you in the book through stories about how people who acquire wealth spend it on the things they don't need, and therefore their money is gone. Now again, there are people young enough in this world to have acquired so much wealth that they are able to spend it on things that they desire and still have more. But basically, the aim of this book is to explain to you that what you earn should be divided up into a certain percentage so that your lifestyle costs never impact on your ability to save money and therefore make the money you save work for you. That's pretty straightforward. Everyone understands that. You do a job, you get paid. From that payment, you try to save some money, but you use the rest for your lifestyle. What this book goes on to explain is that with the money you save, this now should become money that works for you. And again, this is not explained to us growing up in society very well. We're told to put our money in a bank and magically your money will grow and the bank will return to you a percentage upon the original amount you invested. Now, this book goes on to explain to you that through knowledge sharing with professional people rich in knowledge of the subject matter of gaining wealth, you can make your extra money work for you in ways that returns profits from which you build wealth by making those extra profits work for you as well. It's basically explained to you as your pieces of gold, your slaves, which you make work for you. When you get more gold, you make that work for you. Your slaves work for you and the slaves of your slaves work for you. Basically, the more money you earn from your investments, you should be returning that into more investments. You should be returning that into further investments, which again increase the amount of income for you from these investments. Those are the rules, basically, in layman's terms. One of the investment opportunities that we have probably all heard of by now are the cryptocurrencies and the crypto trading markets. Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, and many more. In fact, I think I heard on the news the other day that there was something like 20,000 cryptocurrencies that were introduced to the market last year. and I even dabbled in some of them myself and made a small profit. But it isn't easy for the everyday person to understand these markets if you're not involved in the industry. Bitcoin was introduced maybe a decade ago now, and when it was introduced, a single Bitcoin, of which there is a finite amount, a single Bitcoin was worth probably about $10. Last year we saw a surge in Bitcoin prices, bring the Bitcoin value close to, if not over, $20,000 at one point. If you had bought a Bitcoin 10 years ago, it would have been worth millions today, as of last year's prices. Right now, a Bitcoin is valued at just under $6,000. The markets predict that Bitcoin will drop further to just over $5,000 in the next few weeks, if not the next month or so. In a weird way, this will have the markets declaring that Bitcoin's prices have dropped and therefore people have lost money. But for someone who has invested £50 to £250 in Bitcoin, you have made money. Over the long term, you've made money. Of course, that's the way I look at it. The way the markets look at it will be that you have lost money. The key thing to remember in any investment is that your investment can go up as well as down. I'll go back to what I was saying at the beginning, and trying to save a deposit amount for a new house leads me to reading into what investment opportunities are out there for me. I'd like to ask people what they're invested in, if anyone has any advice, if anyone thinks there are things out there that I should be investing in with my money, put it in the comments box below and I'll read up on it. At the moment, going on what I have read in The Richest Man in Babylon, I should be putting aside a certain amount of my income to invest in opportunities where I can gain a profit. Whether or not that is cryptocurrencies, whether or not that is on the other markets, in the stock market, I don't know. Maybe it's an ISA. Maybe it's a first-time buyer's ISA. But if anyone could give me any advice about what they have done to save a deposit amount for a house, I would be very interested to hear how they did it. One of the key things in The Richest Man in Babylon, to acquire wealth, one must live in their own dwelling. This is one of the hardest things in modern society to do, but understandably, buying your own house and therefore paying into your own property is always going to benefit you in the long run. That's another question I have for some of you. In general terms, what would your advice be when it comes to A, renting and saving for a higher deposit amount, therefore to get a lower mortgage rate on your borrowing, or B, paying a lower deposit and therefore a slightly higher interest rate on your mortgage, but having a house? There's two scenarios for you. If you could leave your advice in the comments box below, again, I would love to read what you say on that. Whoop whoop. Early in work today, so getting a different parking space. So yeah, investments and opportunities, not an easy subject to talk about, especially as there are so many options out there. But I would like to hear if you have any investment opportunities or investments that you were involved in with yourselves. What are your opinions on cryptocurrencies? What are your opinions on ISAs? Is it a first-time buyer's ISA or a lifetime ISA that you should look into? What's your opinion on a couple buying a house together, or should each of them buy their own houses to avoid stamp duty on the second home purchase? All of these things appear to be a minefield to go through for anyone, but I don't think it should be this hard. But it isn't. It's about learning, it's about understanding, and it's about using that information as power, about using your knowledge to make the best decisions. So if you've got any advice on any of what I quickly glossed over in this ride, please leave the comment in the box below, and I would love to read on any links you have to any websites where I can go to for this information. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Early days work. Let's do this.